Hello, welcome to another enjoyable episode of Journey with Michael and Ryan. How you doing?
It's going to be a restful and rejuvenating episode today.
Look at that alliteration right there.
All about it.
Yeah. Well, we're speaking something that we have had to and want to dive deep into is sleep.
Yeah, man. It's such a huge problem.
Yep.
Like, it's such a huge issue. Like, bigger than we even considered it to be. Even when we were incepting our sleep formula. Like, we realized it was something that people needed support with, but it wasn't until we started to go out and have these thousands of conversations with people at expos that we started to realize how terrible people are sleeping, and just how much information people didn't have around sleep hygiene and how to actually optimize and get the best out of your sleep.
What's really taken from me, because that number isn't an exaggeration. We have spoken to thousands and thousands of people this year so far, and will continue to do so. And what's really popped out at me is just the reliance on pharmaceutical sleep aids. That people, I mean, I've had conversations with people that have been on like Zopiclone for like 20 years and taking it every day, every single day. And it's just not doing them any favors.
No, not at all. If anything, it's just making things worse because they're not actually getting to the root cause of why they're having sleep apnea or sleep disturbances. They're merely just sort of masking the symptoms and gradually over time just needing to take more and more pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
And the thing with pharmaceuticals, it's not allowing you to get actual sleep.
Nope.
It's giving you rest. It's shutting your body down.
Yeah.
So you're getting the rest, but to get into those deeper brainwave states of theta and deeper, where you can get your REM sleep, your non-REM sleep, your deep rest, go through the sleep cycle. These sleep aids, these pharmaceutical sleep aids are not doing that. So you might be getting a shutdown 8 hours, but you're not getting an 8 hours of where your body and your brain can flush out the day's energy. It can go through all of the things that it needs to do, help your organs regenerate, all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what's peculiar to me is the doctors that are keeping these people on these pharmaceuticals for years and years.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind.
Well, it's the way they make money. It's the way they get kickbacks, The pharmaceutical industry isn't designed to get people off them. The pharmaceutical industry is designed to maintain a customer for life.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do. That's their end goal is profits. It's not about supporting people. Yes, doctors have patients' best interests at heart, but merely the game that they've been forced to play isn't in the patient's favor.
Yeah, just legal drug dealers, right?
Totally.
Yeah, because there's no point. In the conversations I've had with these people, I like to pry a little bit, and I'll say, okay, well, every time you go to your doctor, get a new prescription, do they ask you how your stress levels are? And the same thing could be called for SSRIs and antidepressants and things. Are they asking about what your life's like, your food intake, and all of your output and different things? And they say, no, I just turn up. They ask me the basic questions of how I'm doing and how I'm sleeping and is these pills working? And look, I'm not taking it away that there is a necessary need for everything at some time, right? I'm not distorting that. But to be on it for countless number of years, it's shocking.
Yeah. And then it just becomes part of people's lives, right? Even if the issue isn't getting fixed, they still just are in the habitual taking of it, hoping that eventually it may work, or just succumbing to the fact or the idea that that's just how they're going to sleep forever. Yeah.
And they're still looking for natural alternatives. Like, they know it's not good for them because they're turning up and having conversations with us.
Oh, it's totally. And it's like the amount of people that get drawn in by simply the word sleep it's mind-boggling. It's
blowing my mind.
It's mind-boggling. It's like one of those things that we're still like taken away at every expo, just like how many conversations we have with people predominantly about sleep. And how much of an issue it is, and how much, just people just don't know and understand that there's so many different ways to help. And it's interesting because it is a unique journey. For most people, it's a unique journey. Yeah, there's lots of different levers that you can pull, and we will be touching on them today. But it's like, it does take a little bit of self-exploration. It does take a little bit about understanding and knowledge. And it's like, that's the can be the most challenging thing for people, is actually just like bridging that gap, like actually bridging that knowledge gap, realizing that they do need to actually educate themselves on how to improve their sleep quality.
Yep. And there's not going to be something that's going to just instantly fix it either. It's going to be a process, because if you've had disturbed sleep for many years, okay, well, that's come from somewhere. It's been taught somewhere, and now it's become a habit within the body. Now, if you're waking up at certain times of the night, that could be might be aimed at a certain organ in your body, sure. That is waking you up because it's not functioning properly, or it's just a signal going, hey, look at me, feel me. This is why I'm waking you up. So,
well, we could go real deep in traditional Chinese medicine right now, Mike.
Oh yeah, we could.
So it's like even in that, it's like, it is a beautiful thing, because when you're looking at the traditional Chinese medicine cycle, we have a 24-hour cycle throughout the body, and every energy is either getting energy or detoxifying energy at a specific 2-hour period throughout the day. And when you can start to actually look and understand people, and when you can see where your energy dips are, or even when you are waking up at night, that can correspond to the actual organ, because it's predominantly around it's not functioning or detoxifying properly. And then you're like, okay, cool, what can I actually do to support that organ? You know, if you're waking up at 3 o'clock every single night, it's actually around detoxification of the liver. So it's like, okay, what can I do to actually support my liver so that the chi or the energy flows? And then you actually look into the psychosomatic aspect of it. You know, what anger am I holding on to? What resentment am I holding on to? You know, so it's like when you start to look at the body holistically, and like, these are the beautiful conversations we have to people, because it's like, we're not afraid to open up people's eyes to new concepts.
Well, whatever they're doing now is not working for them, you know. And you're going to have some nights, you know, even if you are a great sleeper, you're going to have some nights where it's going to be a bit off, you know, whatever day's gone on, your mind's a little bit more on. But then we're also more stimulated than ever before through unnatural light, through screens, through just constant stimulation as well. So what happens is through unnatural light, our body has a rhythm called the circadian rhythm. So that's a natural wake and sleep cycle that we run naturally as humans. Now, just think about over in probably last 150 years, you know, that's the only introduction of light, of electricity within our homes. You know, before then we were waking up from the sun and sleeping with the moon, you know, like it's so it hasn't been that long in our human history where we've had all this stimulant, and so our circadian rhythms are all a little bit skew with, and going into the busy lifestyles we have now with shift work and working later and all of that go productive energy to get ahead, and I understand all of that, and that's all fine. But there are, in the circadian rhythm, what happens is that in our brain we have something that's secreted called melatonin, and so that starts to secrete at the same time every night, slightly different times for each person as we are individuals. And with the unnatural light, there's a thing in there called blue light, and so blue light's like a radiation stimulant that comes from the sun. Now, when we are constantly looking at screens, or you know, we're surrounded by these unnatural lights, what happens is that triggers the brain to think that the sun is still up. You know, we're still so very ancient in the way that we run. And so when the brain still thinks the sun's still up, it goes, well, I'm not going to secrete the melatonin as impeccably as I can, because the sun's still up.
Well, the mind doesn't know the difference between daytime, nighttime, and otherwise. The only thing that triggers it is the sun. Yeah. You know, our octave nerves picks it up, you know, when light enters, that's just like a trigger. Oh, it's daytime now. Oh, the sun's starting to go down, and it's a 14-hour period. It's coming towards sleep time, so I should start to release melatonin in a few hours. Yeah,
and so with the stimulation of the blue light, the melatonin's not secreted into the body as much as it can. So when you are wanting to go to sleep, if you've just been looking at your phone, and I'm totally guilty of this as well. I'm not saying I'm you know the Jesus of this, but we've got tools to help mitigate that, like blue light blocking glasses and things like that. So that's what happens. So when you try to go to sleep, you're going to be quite restless, you know, for quite a while, you know, and people go, oh, my mind's active. It's like, well, of course it's active, because melatonin hasn't been fully dumped into the body to actually start slowing it down and start the process of moving into sleep and going into your sleep cycles. And so, I mean, this is just one little action that we can become a bit more aware of. You know, we've got salt lamps all throughout our house. So at night time, if you want to walk around, we've just got a nice dimly lit orange light that's floating around. We've got blue blocker glasses there, and then obviously our sleep product as well to have beforehand, which kind of just starts slowing everything down. But if you are having restless sleep, going to bed, I mean, some people's minds are much more active than others. Some people are much more full of cortisol because their stress rates are a lot higher, through their breathing as well. I mean, it all conjoins into the same faction.
Totally. And it's just like looking at it. Yeah, it's a big topic, and there's so many subtle nuances to it.
Yeah.
So many subtle nuances to it. But it's like if you should be falling asleep quite easily.
Yeah.
Okay? You should be waking up between 7 and 8 hours later feeling recharged. And if you're not falling asleep easily, if you're not waking up recharged, it means that your natural sleep cycles throughout the night aren't happening. Which means, and all of that is actually triggered from the morning. From when we wake up, when we view sunlight, it triggers a spike in cortisol. Something called the superchiasmatic nucleus is the thing that actually triggers all of these mechanisms. Cortisol raises in the morning so that our heart rate goes up, so our blood flow increases, so that we have more energy to get up throughout the day. Then 14 hours later, our cortisol drops, all right, which actually allows melatonin to be released, all right, which means that we can actually drop into those deeper states of sleep. So it's like if you're waking up, you've got high cortisol levels all throughout the day. You then try to fall asleep, melatonin, as you say, it's not going to happen. So that means that other mechanisms in the body isn't going to happen as well. There's another key one called GABA. Right? GABA is actually what helps to structure our REM, non-REM sleep, and light sleep. So if melatonin's not being released, GABA's not being released, it means we may be asleep for 8 hours, but we're not actually getting the restorative sleep that we need because we're not actually able to drop into these sleep cycles. And a really good sign of this is if you're a light sleeper, it means you're not actually dropping deeper into those sleep cycles. If you have broken sleep throughout the night, it means you're not dropping into these sleep cycles. If you don't dream, it often means that we're not dropping into our sleep cycles. So it's like all of these things are like little clues that there needs to be some more, like they call it sleep hygiene, right? There needs to be some more sleep hygiene tools that you take like all throughout the day so that you can naturally start to get back in rhythm and in sync with yourself and with nature, because we're all just animals at the end of the day.
And if there's one thing you should focus on over and above everything else, it's getting your sleep right.
Totally.
And the older I get, the more prevalent I understand that.
Well, the more you start to feel it, because the more your testosterone levels start to decrease, which the more you actually rely on sleep to actually rebuild like those stores of energy throughout the night. So the more apparent it feels, because when you're in your 20s, you're not even thinking about it. You're burning the candle at both ends, and it doesn't really matter. It's not till you actually start to get a little older, plus 30, that you actually start to realize the importance of it and realize that those years of debauchery are starting to catch up a little bit. I mean, we're not saying don't be debaucherous, but just start to realize.
Yeah. If I had this knowledge in my 20s, I still would have done what I did in my 20s anyways. You know?
Totally.
But then if you do that long enough, that becomes and develops a habit as well.
For sure.
Right? I would consider myself more of a night owl. And I started hospitality very early in my life. And so I was working all night in nightclubs and staying awake all night. And, and so I did that for years on end in my late teens, early 20s, right through to my mid 20s. And I think that has a big effect on me later on now, whereas I can stay up later and sleep later. And I think that's created my circadian rhythm as it is. Whereas you're an early riser, right? You went to boarding school. You had more stringent,
more structure around it.
Like wake up times, like same as military people.
In boarding school, the first alarm went off at 6:30.
Yep.
But and then I was still up at like 5:30. I'd like do my push-ups and go to the gym beforehand. So it's just like that's just my circadian rhythm. Like all of us are going to have different energy dips and peaks. You know, this is the beautiful thing of that Rise app that we always share with the community in the state change program. It's like we have no affiliation with the app. We've just used and utilized it, and it just gives you some really good understanding on the circadian rhythm and your own unique sleep cycles based on some data that it takes for about a week, and then it starts to give you a real understanding of like when your melatonin drop's going to be released, right? When your cortisol is going to be spiked in the morning, and like all of us are different, so they're all like they can be different between half an hour, but it might mean that you may be able to structure your night and your mornings based around it. So it's like for you, it's like your cortisol spike isn't till about 9 o'clock, right? So it's like that's why you find it so hard to train in the morning and have to like make a conscious effort to get up.
Yeah, and I'll have a nap in the day. Like, 'cause my training's, I'm up at 5:30.
Yeah.
And I love to do it, and it's great, and it's creating discipline, and it's the thing that I want to do. But even if I've gone to bed at 10:30, which is the bedtime I usually go to at night time, a 40-minute nap still is going to really refresh me for the day, just to get through the day. And it doesn't add on any or take away any sleep debt. That's just kind of what's going to help refresh me from that morning. But that's just knowing myself. And going through these processes as well. And also your age is going to have a big input into the amount of sleep that you need as well. You know, when we're babies, obviously we need a lot more. And then as we get into toddlers and moving through that phase up to about the age of probably about 12 or 13, we don't need a lot of sleep. That's why a lot of kids are up at 4 in the morning, even though they went to bed at 10 because they were faffing about and they just got energy all damn day. But, you know, at the age of, 2 to 5, they still need a nap because that's obviously the sleep that they need as well. And then when you start getting into your teenage years, I mean, that number can increase right up to about 12 to 14 hours sometimes for some people as you're going through puberty and as you're going through all of those hormonal changes. And then once you start moving into your late 20s and 30s, you need your 7 to 8 hours. And then you start moving, as you get older and older, you need a little less and less, right? And then if you're a woman, you're going to start going through menopause. I mean, the amount of menopausal conversations we're having with women who, in their middle years, their sleep just gets thrown out of whack instantly, and they're just so frustrated with it because the hormonal activity in their body is just so alive, and they're just keeping them up, and they're not getting the sleep isn't helping them move through their menopausal process as well. So it's the catch-22.
Definitely, and it impacts on everything, from like our mental health, our relationships, our cognitive ability, our desire for certain foods. If we're not getting right sleep, it means our insulin levels are going to spike differently. It means we're going to be drawn towards like more junk food because it's going to like spike them, which is going to give us like a false energy because there's not real like good calories in it. There's so many different things that are tied up in sleep, and it's like that really is why it's so important.
One of our slides at our presentations is, the best nootropic sleep, the best trauma release sleep, the best emotional regulation sleep. Everything. If you can just start really nailing your sleep, and I know Gary Vee talks about it's like a lot of those like really high profile guys that, it used to be a world online
hustle
of just like hustle, like go, sleep 4 hours a night every night, or you're a loser.
Yeah.
It's like no, focus on the sleep and everything will fall into line.
Totally.
Even like Tim Ferriss, I mean, he's huge on sleep. He talks about it all the time, and it was a big light bulb moment for him when he was like, I'm focusing on my sleep. That's number one priority. And I really do the same myself as well. Like it's a big check-in. Like if we've had a huge weekend of talking to 1,000 people each, and we've driven halfway across the country to get home, and we don't get home till 1, and my alarm goes off at 5, and I check in with myself. I'm like, okay, am I just really not wanting to go, or is it that I really need some sleep right now? And on Monday it was, no, I really need some sleep right now. Ultimately I was sick at the time as well. So, but it's a check-in. It's a check-in, and then it's that discipline and self-awareness to go, okay, is this just the voice that's trying to keep me in here, or is this actually me just being like, no, my body needs rest because I've done such big output.
Totally, man, totally. And so let's go a little bit into the tools.
Yes.
There's a few tools that we can start to utilize, a few tools that we talk about with our state change program, just to help start to improve some sleep hygiene. And if you think about it like in that hygiene aspect, it's not about like strictness. It's about, okay, just doing the things that are actually just going to clean out the body so that I can get the best night's sleep. You know, what can you do to help dump off cortisol at the end of the day? What can you do to balance your temperatures out? You know, what can you do to help quiet the mind? You know, all of these different things are going to lead into better quality sleep. Yeah.
So a really simple matter of fact. So when we go through a sleep cycle, it's roughly about 90 minutes. And that's you go through from light sleep into REM sleep, non-REM sleep, and you come back around, deep sleep, and you come back around again. Now, at the end of every REM cycle, you get a dump of cortisol. That's why when we're in a dream, we can kind of wake up from a dream, because that's at the end of a sleep cycle. And so we get a dump of cortisol. Now, if we've got kind of an over excess of cortisol from the day, an easy way to kind of get rid of that is just to go for a walk at nighttime. Go and walk it off a bit. You know, even having sex, you know, like what a great way to connect with your partner, you know, move through some energy. And you're going to be full of nice oxytocin after that as well, which is a nice sleeping chemical.
Well, you always have a better sleep after sex.
Oh, yeah. So that's a really nice little one. But yeah, as simple as just going for a walk. You know, it doesn't have to be huge. It could be 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Just go out, just move some of that cortisol through. So when you're going through your sleep cycles, if you're finding yourself waking up 2-3 times a night, you know, and you're bumping up, you know, that's going to be a really simple and effective way. Just try it. See if that can remove it as well.
Yep.
Another really simple tool for that as well is, you know, depending on who you are and how you feel, a hot or a cold shower about an hour before you go to bed. You know, for me, a cold shower really pulls me into a nice deeper state of relaxation and rest, but for some people it might be a hot shower, you know, and so the hotness will bring the energy back into your center of your organs, and as you're trying to sleep, they're going to hold the nice temperament.
Totally, and that all comes down to something called average temperature medium.
There you go.
We're getting all science on here.
Sciencey.
It's called average temperature medium. Everyone's is slightly different, between a few degrees. So it's not saying one's better than the other. It's really about understanding what works for you. This is the same thing when it comes to the temperature of your room when you're sleeping as well. You know, I run hot, my partner runs cold. So it's like I'll have a sheet and she'll have 2 blankets, you know, and it's just about understanding that is going to have an effect. So what you can do is even just having a conversation around if you do have those separate things when it comes when it's starting to come into hotter temperatures in New Zealand now. So it's like we've stripped all those extra layers off the bed so that I can start to get a better sleep. And Van just has a blanket on her side so that she can stay warm, you know. Or you can actually get beds that have different side mattresses, and each of them run at different temperatures so that it works for your unique average temperature medium.
There's a product for everything now.
Oh, totally. We've studied it all.
I know.
We've studied it all.
Yeah. And so yeah, just working out what your temperature gauge is. It's a really important one. Like during summer, I will sleep with a fan on religiously every single night. I
can't do that. I never have.
Really?
The noise just drives me insane. I used to go to my cousin's house and he always slept with a fan on, like summer or winter.
Yeah.
And just the sound of it just has traumatized me.
Oh, I love it. It's like a drone. Like, and then if you've got a mozzie in your room, they blow them off. You can't hear them. No, I love a fan. Yeah, it's like white noise for me, and then the breeze just keeps me going. And what's really interesting is if it's not like the dead of summer, or it might be a little bit of a cooler night that night, that in my sleep I'll turn it off at some time in the night.
Interesting.
And then I'll be back to sleep.
Body knows.
Yeah, it knows. I'll wake up and be like, oh, the fan's not on. I don't remember doing that, but obviously that's what it needed.
Totally.
And then also another great tool we spoke about is the beta blue blockers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know, just get into a good habit of wearing them around the house. You know, from about 6-7 o'clock at night while you're watching TV or you're looking at your phone, or just generally being out and about. Mm-hmm. If you're traveling overnight, these are really good to wear on an airplane as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're getting and arriving somewhere when it's nighttime and you want to go to sleep, you know, this is a great thing to have. So another little tool in your arsenal that you can buy it once and you've always got it.
And they're a dope pair of glasses too. It's like, it's interesting because everyone at the expos always talks about them because we have them on at the expos because there's just so much unnatural light.
Yeah.
in those stadiums wherever we are, and like by the end of the day, if you don't have them on, you just got this pain behind your eyes. So everyone asks this question, they're like, "Oh, tell us about the glasses," and we're just like getting people to wear them, and they look good on every single person. It's such an interesting pair of glasses, because like even me, I'm not a fan of wearing glasses because most glasses don't suit my face, but these just dapper.
They are dapper. I like that. That's a good word. So there's that tool, and then you've got our sleep formula. Like it's got a, even if we didn't have the sleep formula, we would still speak about every ingredient in there for you to go and purchase, to go and get. So we've got kava, magnesium, L-theanine, beryllium, passion flower, and chamomile. All working together seamlessly to be able to slow your nervous system down with the natural sedative that kava is. And then you've got the passion flower, valerian, and chamomile, which are going to now support to put you in those deeper states of REM sleep. Valerian, for some people can give you quite crazy dreams, but don't be afraid of them. They're okay. It's all good. It's just what's in you.
Totally.
And then the magnesium for your nervous system support.
Yeah.
And we've got all therapeutic doses in there. And it tastes amazing. So you can have that like half an hour before you go to bed. And so it's just about getting all these different adaptogens and piecing them all together. There's some nighttime breath techniques you can do as well.
Yoga nidras,
which is like a meditation you just listen to, and it just slows you down. There's binaural beats. There's a whole bunch of things.
Yoga nidra is probably a good one to actually just like spend a little bit more time on, because it's one of those really good tools if you find yourself like really trapped in your head and trapped in thought. Like valerian and passion flower do the same thing, because they help produce something called GABA, and GABA is like the body's brake. Cortisol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, those are all like the accelerators, but GABA's the brake. It just slows the body down, stops everything, and it switches off thought. Like they use it for generalized anxiety disorder, because you just like, I just feel my mind just like clicks off. It's a beautiful thing. And that's exactly the same mechanism that you pull, or lever that you pull, when you do a yoga nidra, because when you drop into deep meditative states, when you allow yourself through like active muscle relaxation and just focusing on your breath, it actually helps to produce GABA, which is going to help support the body just slowing down, the mind quieting, and quite often you just wake up in the morning, like you find that you've just fallen asleep to it.
Yeah. What does Huberman call it? Can you remember?
Non-active deep rest. Oh, non-sleep deep rest.
Non-sleep
NSDR.
deep rest. Yeah, that's right.
Non-sleep deep rest. So even a nap. Nap's non-sleep deep rest, because you're not actually allowing yourself to go into a full sleep cycle, but you're just allowing the body to relax and the mind to shut off enough so that your energy levels can balance back out, so that your cortisol levels can drop and we can release GABA.
Naps as well. Naps are a one I mentioned earlier. If you're finding that you are struggling and there's nothing, what would you say, unproductive about having a nap.
No, it's the best thing you can do. Like Huberman talks about it all the time. He's like, if our work started to allow people to have naps, we'd be so much more productive throughout the day. Because it's like you don't get 8 hours of productivity out of anyone, especially if you've hired them. Even in New Zealand actually has one of the worst productivity scores in the world. When it comes to like how much work you're actually getting outside of someone. And that's essentially actually why they brought in a coffee break, because they actually started to notice that when they were allowing people to have a coffee break at 10 and 3 because of the caffeine, their productivity rates and productivity scores were like flying through the roof. So it's like, that's the reason you have a break, a 10-minute break at your work, is literally because of caffeine.
When you think about, look at the countries that have siestas and have sleeps in the middle of the day, they're pretty happy peeps.
Oh, totally. And they cuss you out too. I remember when we were in Sardinia, and it was everything shut down between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. And like me, Amp and Ginge, we were just roaming through the streets, and this lady just puts her head out the window and she's just like yelling at us, and we were like, we can't understand, like no Italiano. And she just says in English, she's like, go home. And she's like, you're meant to be sleeping. So good.
See, that's a world I could live in.
You could definitely.
I'm a nap king.
Yeah, the loafers, the cotton shirts.
Yeah. Well, when I was a real estate agent, like there were long days. If I was in the office and I just felt like the sleep coming on, I would literally just lean back in my chair and I would just nap at my desk, Sometimes I remember once I woke up and the people in the office had taken a photo of me, printed it out, and stuck photos of me sleeping all around my desk as I woke up. And there was one stuck on me, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
Mike is the king of naps.
I love a good nap.
He does. So when it's when it comes to tools, man, there's so many different things, so many different mechanisms that you can pull. As we say, like light is a really, 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 really big one. So it's like allowing yourself to not become addicted to the screens in the evenings. It's so easy to just fall into that trap of like checking your phone just before you go to bed.
Yep.
And there's nothing to see.
No,
I find myself like actually falling into that trap a lot lately, and there's literally nothing to see. Ain't nothing good going on, and then 10 minutes scroll past, and you're like, "Fuck, I could be asleep already."
Correct. Yeah, caffeine's a huge one.
Massive.
So caffeine's a big correlation to. It's a big part of people's lives. We're not here to take coffee away from anyone or anything like that. It's like sugar. Don't have to be afraid of sugar. It's just the overconsumption of things become the devil, right? How many times are we talking to people? I have a coffee at 10 at night and I sleep fine. Like, okay, I'm not saying you probably don't fall asleep because the caffeine on your adenosine is obviously, works pretty incompatible.
Compatible.
Speaking Italiano, pretty compatible, and but it's still a stimulant, so it's still not going to allow yourself to drop into those deeper states of actual sleep for you to get that nurturing rest that you need. So rule of thumb is about 8 to 10 hours.
8 to 10 hours, yeah.
Before you go. So have your coffee, unless you're training, you don't need to have coffee first thing in the morning. Now, if you're going to go and do some physical exertion, a little caffeine's fine. It's great. It's going to give you that boost because you're going out to go and blow out all of your cortisol levels and everything anyways. But if you're just waking up and it's the first thing you're going to do, you are just stimulating and stressing your nervous system for no point, because your adenosine and your adrenaline and your cortisol are peaking at its highest. So adding caffeine on top of that, it's not actually giving you the wake up. It's actually just giving you a crash. So wait till about an hour and a half before you have your coffee, and then just keep them before midday if you're going to sleep about 10 at night. That's all.
It's not simple. It's not overly complicated, is it?
No, but if it's a habit, if it's an addiction to the caffeine, I mean, there's other alternatives out there, such as our focus.
Totally. What a segue.
We can't talk about one without the other because they work so well together.
Totally.
Because you've got a focus formula there, and again, it's stacked full of ingredients. We would just say, hey, look, if you want to have a nice sharper edge during the day without adding caffeine, so you're not messing with your sleep, here's X, Y, and Z ingredients for you to go and take, and that's what we've got in our focus formula. So enjoy your coffees, And now if you're at a meeting or something, you can have a decaf during the afternoon. I don't drink coffee because I just look at caffeine and it'll stimulate me. It's very rarely, but I use caffeine as a tool if I need to use it.
Sure, if you've got a long stint of driving or something like that.
Correct, right? So I'm happy with it then, but I feel it though. Oof, I feel it. So if you're still just going about your normal day, find some sort of coffee alternative for the afternoon that's going to help, give you the sharpness that you're looking for. Still give you that ritual of that hot drink that you're having, but not adding the caffeine or the stimulant to yourself to mess with your sleep. And energy drinks, just get rid of them. They are no good. Just full of chemicals and nasty things. We don't tell people what to do in our lives, but if you're drinking the energy drinks, there's nothing good about those.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
I would put them above smoking darts.
Yeah. Now, if you're smoking darts and having a V, I mean, what a combination.
I'm
not going to lie that there hasn't been points in my life where I smoke a dart and have a V.
I was a tradie back in the day, man. But that was in my prime. I was 19, 20. That's when V's brought out those huge cans. It was the very first one.
Oh, they like 750s, eh? And the ones that had like the big screw on the top.
Yeah. So I'd drink one of those, have a dart and a pie, but different life. But there was a guy I worked with. Man, he would have 5 of those a day.
Totally.
5.
I had a friend in America when we were 18, and he'd have 5 a day, and he went off them. He tried to do a month without them, and after 3 days, his whole body was just shaking because of the addiction.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's so many nasty things in there. So your energy drinks team, they're not helping you at all.
Not at all.
They'll give you a huge spike.
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to go and run an ultra marathon or something like that, if you've got huge output, there's always a time and a place for things, right? Always. But most people aren't doing that.
No, it's the reliance.
And it's the reliance.
It's the reliance, and like people need it. They need it to wake up. They need to have their coffee in the morning, or they're not a happy person.
Yeah.
You know, they need to have a coffee in the afternoon, otherwise they don't make it through the day. And it's like these are real big signs that your adrenals are just screaming, and you're going to eventually burn out or lead into adrenal fatigue. You know, because your body needs that unnatural stimulation of cortisol for you to actually feel balance. So it's like you're naturally building your baseline for cortisol to be higher.
Yeah.
That means it's going to stay that way, and it means it's just going to keep peaking.
I spoke to a lady at an expo once. It was 9 in the morning. No, it was 10 in the morning. No, it would have been about 10:30. Anyways, self-professed coffee addict. I said, yeah, no worries. She's a baker, and she's always awake, and she's a lovely lady. She's telling me about her coffees. I said, oh, how many have you had today? She goes, I've had 15 today already. I said, excuse me? She goes, yeah, I've had 15. I said, well, how many do you have in a day? She goes, about 40. I said, is this every day? She goes, no, some days I have 30. But
How do you have that much time?
I was like, that's wow. And she goes, yeah, I'm really addicted. I'm really addicted to coffee, you know? And I mean, there have been a couple of people I've spoken to as well who aren't at those numbers, but still fairly high numbers. And that's just their constant state of stress that they have felt comfortable to live in. It's like, oh, could you imagine having 40 coffees, brother? Holy shit.
I couldn't imagine having 4.
I know.
It'd be an anxious wreck. I had one this morning.
Yeah.
And I could just feel, I was like, felt like I needed to rush to the rest of my day.
Yeah.
And it was just such an interesting thing to just observe. Like I enjoy coffee from time to time, and like sometimes it hits and it feels good, but more often than not, I just feel like an anxious wreck.
Yeah, I'm the same. But yeah. So caffeine, you know, try and just kind of minimize it before 12, you know, like, and even if that's the one thing that you change, you'll notice some significant impact quite quickly on your sleep. You know, you'll even if you are one of these people that can just sleep on it, like, you'll just find that you're waking up more rested. You'll just have more sleep, you know. And when we say the word sleep is what we're talking about, is going through the sleep cycles, going through the different light to deep sleep cycles, and coming back and then going through it again, you know, because that's where your body's doing all its flushing out. It's doing all of its good stuff.
Yeah, and like if you're having an 8 hours of sleep a night, like just use it as a median, you should be getting 4 hours of light, 2 hours of deep, and 2 hours of REM. So if you do track it, if your stats aren't at that, then you're not actually getting a quality night's sleep. Like if you're getting 6 hours of light sleep, then you're not actually going through those detoxification processes. You're not actually moving through those cycles properly. And then that's where, you know, looking at your cortisol levels, that's where utilizing sleep products are going to support you dropping into those deeper sleep states. Like, we had someone message us who was getting 8 hours of sleep. He showed us a sleep bar. He's like, I'm getting 8 hours, but I still just wake up feeling groggy. And he had sleep for a week, and his REM sleep expired 5 times.
Yeah, he went from 25 minutes to an hour and a quarter, and it was on his watch.
Yeah. And it's like, that's, for me, it's like, yeah, we haven't done any clinical trials on the product yet, and we do plan on doing it later down the track when we have the equity to be able to fund it. But it's like, for me, anecdotally, it's like looking at this information, it's like, oh, dope. It's working the way we designed it to work.
And also, our modern day sleep cycle is still quite young in its process. For hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, the sleep cycle, like when there was no street lights to turn on, there was no actual like light pollution, people would go to sleep at about 7 o'clock and wake up at about midnight, and then be awake for about 4 or 5 hours, and then go back to sleep till the sunrise.
Totally.
And that was the normal sleep cycle. Like, you would just wake up and roam around the house, do your thing for 4 or 5 hours in the middle of the night, and then you would go to sleep, and then the sun would wake you up, and then you would go about your day. And that was a sleep cycle that was a lot longer than the straight sleep that we're having now. And I mean, it just seems so odd, but if that's the way that the collective needed its sleep, you know, without any light pollution, then that, to me, it sounds more natural.
Definitely. It's like a form of either evolution or de-evolution.
Oh, exactly.
Yet to know, right?
Have you heard of, I forget what it's called now. You know, it's that process where you stay awake and you sleep for 20 minutes every, is it every hour or every
I think it's 20 minutes every few hours.
Few hours, yeah.
And you only average like 4 hours of actual
So,
sleep.
Yeah, so our business consultant, he's a weapon. And so if he's going through a huge process of getting work done, he will put himself into this and he stands by it. He's like, this really works for me. But he goes, you have to get your 20 minutes in. Otherwise, if you don't, you just crash.
Yeah.
Like it's really stringent. So he uses it when he's got big reports he's got to write over the case of 2 weeks or something like that. And that's what will get him through. So there's different sleep cycles you can trial that work for you as well. Like it's not a one case fits all, and it's for whatever outlook on life you've got going on as well.
In different stages, you know. It's like when you have kids, your sleep is gonna be affected because there's something outside of you that really governs how well you're going to sleep. And then it's like, even for a lot of like mothers, it would be as their kids start to get older, actually then getting out of that habitual pattern of being a light sleeper. That's beauty of my sister. That was the benefit she said she got from taking sleep. Like, because she was so used to her son waking up, he's now 4, because she was so used to him waking up and her having to get up and like change and feed him and blah, 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 blah. As he starts to get older and he doesn't need that same amount of care, she's still just a light sleeper because of it. So there'd be a little movement and she'd wake up and check on him, realizing that he was just rolling over or turning. But like now she gets a full night's sleep because it's just helping, like the carver just helps sedate her, so that she can actually like not be so restless. And
she's a better mum for it, right? 'Cause she's focusing on her sleep.
Totally.
My brother-in-law's the same. I mean, Caleb, I think he's been tired for 10 years. He ended up having identical twins at the end of their cycle and still having, I think him and my sister ended up having 4 kids under 5. And 2 of them were identical twins. And he's an early riser, so he's up. He's a managing like you. Like he just gets on and gets things done. Very successful guy. But when he took our product, he's like, man, it's the first time I've actually had sleep. He goes, I slept the same amount of time, but it was actual sleep that I had. And the refreshingness of it. So so for parents out there, we're certainly not going, hey, all these things you're going to add into your life and you're going to get perfect sleep. It's like, no, we've all got different lives, but how can you focus on getting the quality sleep of the sleep that you're getting?
Totally.
I think is the best thing.
Yeah, and that just sort of speaks to the integrity of the brand that we're building as well. I know we like talk about the product, but it's just like, these tools are as important. And it's, even when we have the conversation with people, it's like we turn the back of the packet over and say, look, we want you to take this, take it half an hour before you go to bed, scan this QR code that's on the back. There's like 7 different sleep tools that you can utilize, pretty much everything that we've just spoken about on this podcast. Choose a few of them and start implementing them into your life. Big one, caffeine, big one, light exposure. See how that really helps and affects you, while you're also getting the benefits of the herbs that are naturally going to help support those sleep cycles as well. Yeah,
correct. Because with sleep, it's not going to be one thing that sorts it out.
No.
It's going to piggyback. Like the very rare occasion we do get somebody, because we offer 100% money back guarantees, like if someone buys that, because we stand by it so much, and the odd few out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds we've sold already that are like, hey, this doesn't work for me, we're like, cool, we'll give it back to you straight away. But they're looking for a quick fix. They're looking for something that's going to instantly change them. It's like, well, have you tried the other tools on there? No, I haven't, but it's okay, no worries, it's all good. It's not obviously for you. And that's
and
okay.
There's some people that don't even want help with their sleep.
No, they run away with them. People love holding on to their problems, don't they?
They do.
You can't help people who are unwilling.
Exactly.
That's as simple as that.
Exactly.
But yeah, sleep, ladies and gentlemen. Start educating on it. Start getting some better idea on it. And you want to turn your life around very quickly. Start focusing on your sleep and again, the breath work and all the different processes that we talk about that are on here that can help get to those root causes, because there might be a sleep trauma response of when you were a child, like maybe like the way that your parents parented you and they just let you cry yourself to sleep every night, as the air quote self-soothing method or something like that. You've carried that through to your adult stage. So when it's actually going to bedtime, you're actually like chaotic and traumatic about it, right? And it's triggering for you. And so that's just going to keep you tossing and turning, or maybe you've gone through a death in the family while you're asleep and you woke up to somebody who died, a long partner or something like that, right? And now it's like, well, I don't want to go to sleep because that triggers a response. If I go to sleep, then somebody might be dead when I wake up. So we can go on a deeper level,
Totally.
like with all of this stuff, So there are root causes for things. It's just, are you willing to have a look at them or feel them or go through them and have a look at all these different tools around that we've got on offer to really support you.
That's it. And so if you are like intrigued to improve your sleep and to sort of delve into the science of it and to learn a little bit more, we've left a link in the description of this podcast, which is going to take you to the free resources page on our website that has all of this information on it. That is how important this stuff is. That is why we want to educate you guys on it, and we're dedicating a full podcast to it because we know the benefits of getting a good night's sleep. We understand how big of a problem it truly is, and we really just want to provide you guys with the free information that's out there. You don't have to buy our product.
No.
This is not what this podcast is about. It's actually just about educating you guys so that you can actually educate yourself and sort of take your own journey with it. There's a free guide on there that actually guides you through a 30-day challenge of implementing a few different tools at a time to see what helps you. So the information's there. It's your choice what you do with it.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, team. Well, I think we'll leave it there. But go and look at your sleep. Go and trial out these tools. And as always, if you want to dive a little bit deeper, just reach out to me and Ryan. We're very accessible, very available. We love talking about all these things and just genuinely helping people in their lives. So if you've stuck along for the journey today, thank you very much. We appreciate y'all, and we love you, and we'll see you next week.
We love you, everybody.
Sure.